Good afternoon, everyone. Today I have the distinct pleasure of introducing a dear friend of mine, Martha Sanders Hoover. Martha is a visionary entrepreneur who defied expectations by transitioning from a legal career as a sex crimes prosecutor to revolutionizing the hospitality industry. In 1989, with zero restaurant experience and unknowingly pregnant with her third child, she launched Cafe Patachou. Now, this is not on the script, but how many people have eaten at Cafe Patachou? Raise your hand. Awesome, awesome. Then you know what Cafe Patachou is all about. It's an elevated neighborhood cafe that grew into a beloved Indianapolis chain. Martha later expanded her impact with acclaimed concepts like Napoli's, Public Greens, Bar 114, which is a fantastic place, and Patachou. I've eaten there too. I love the crepes. Long before values-driven business was a buzzword, Hoover championed farm-to-table dining, sustainability, and community engagement. Her leadership earned her 6 James Beard Foundation finalist nods, Eater's Empire Builder of the Year, and recognition as one of Food & Wine's most influential women in food. Committed to social impact, Martha founded the Patachou Foundation in 2015 with the purpose of combating childhood food insecurity. And this is something that I hope all of you will recognize. The Patachou Foundation has provided over 600,000 meals to Indianapolis students, mostly in the urban core. That deserves a round of applause. Martha also gained national attention for their innovative hunger relief model, the MSH Collective, which fosters intergenerational mentorship and supports women-led businesses. Its Wisdom Exchange project connects women across industries to share insights and sustain legacies. Martha is a sought-after speaker, and she inspires audience through her keynotes, panels, and mentorship. Martha also challenges the status quo as it relates to hunger. She believes that hunger can be combated if we all put our hearts and minds together, think bigger, lead with intention, and redefine possibilities for women and men in business and beyond. This morning, or this afternoon, I'd like for you to welcome Martha Hoover to the stage.
Thank you, Lee, and hi, everybody. I love that you're all eating. Food is my world. And actually, this morning, a colleague of mine, not knowing anything about this event, sent me a quote from the Gallup organization's 2025 year report. And it's about food and eating together, and I thought it would be an appropriate time to read this paragraph that was sent over. It said, "Sharing meals proves to be an exceptionally strong indicator of subjective well-being, on par with income and unemployment. Those who share more meals with others report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction and positive effect, and lower levels of negative effect. This is true across ages, genders, countries, cultures, and regions. In the United States, using data from the American Time Use Survey, a real thing, we find clear evidence that Americans are spending more and more time dining alone. In 2023, roughly 1 in 4 Americans reported eating the majority of their meals alone, an increase of 53% since 2003. Dining alone has become more prevalent for every age group, but especially for young people." Wow, that kind of blew me away. Really upset me, actually. I believe strongly in this theory called commensality, which is the relationships that you build while eating, sharing a table and sharing food, eating with other people. So thank you, and please feel free to continue chewing. It actually would make me feel really good. Lee said something that made me laugh. He said I was a sex crimes prosecutor, which is true. I was a sex crimes prosecutor in the first sex crimes unit ever established in Indiana, and it happened to be the second sex crimes unit established in the United States. But 2 weeks ago, I was giving a speech in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the person who introduced me, unlike Lee, did not know who I was, had never met me, had only read something, and when he got up to do the introduction, he told the room that I was not a sex crimes prosecutor, but a sex prosecutor. And the entire room face went white, and I had to say to them, I'm not arresting people for having or thinking about sex. So it was a good way to start my speech. Lee mentioned that I love to buck status quo. I've had this problem. I call it a strength, but I've had this problem since I was a young girl. And true story, when my oldest child got to a certain age where she was also challenging me a little, what I would call bucking my status quo, my rules, the way I thought my household should run, I went to the pediatrician for some advice. Now, this wasn't just any pediatrician. The pediatrician my children went to happened to be my pediatrician when I was a child. So this doctor knew me well. And after I explained the facts and I needed some help to understand what was going on and how I would reduce friction in the house by having her understand that I knew better, he turned to me and he said, "This is called grandmother's revenge." I think it's genetic in my home. I really do enjoy reframing problems into opportunities, which is what this entire event is about today. And I am so thrilled to be here, and I want to thank Heidi, I want to thank the task force, and I want to thank Cortiva and the other corporate sponsors for putting on what I think, just by looking out at the crowd, a remarkable first-time event, which makes me know that next year's event will be bigger and better, and I'm just so proud to have been associated with year number 1. So I leaned into my own superpower of bucking status quo and reframing issues in 1989 when I opened my first cafe, Cafe Patachou. Cafe Patachou redefined what it meant to be a neighborhood cafe. And then I further stepped into this superpower when 10 years ago I created an organization, a not-for-profit associated with my company called the Patachou Foundation. Instead of building a company that had its singular focus on profits, I built a company that had a triple bottom line: product, people, and place. And we are here today to talk purely about place. We're here to talk about place and hunger. Hunger is not just a heartbreaking reality in our community, it is an unacceptable contradiction, as we all know. Everyone in this room understands it. And I can't, especially as I took myself accidentally on a tour of the state fairgrounds this morning, not being able to find this building. I went to every other building, of course. I realized the incredible history of agriculture in the state of Indiana, and it was more than ironic that I thought we're meeting here in Indianapolis, the largest city in Indiana, right in the middle of Indiana, a state deeply rooted in agriculture, at a pavilion associated with agriculture, and that we're in Indiana, in the middle of the United States, the preeminent world power and economic force, yet within few steps of us, there are so many people who do not have access to quality food. In 2016, the United Nations committed to 17 sustainable developmental goals to eradicate poverty worldwide. These goals recognize that the two biggest factors contributing to poverty are lack of access to quality food and lack of access to quality education. But here's what we all know. The challenge is not food production. We overproduce food globally. The problem isn't a lack of calories. We waste calories daily. The problem is a lack of access and a lack of equity in that access distribution cycle. Traditional approaches to hunger relief are stagnant, and as someone who does not enjoy stagnancy, I think that is our biggest charge today, is to understand that they're stagnant and that we need a system overhaul. Food relief in its current form is like applying Band-Aid to a massive traumatic wound. It helps in the short term, but it doesn't solve, does not help in the long term. Breaking cycles of poverty will require a huge reframing. We need innovation. We need systemic changes in order for us to create real impact with lasting change. Now, I'm going to brag a little bit about the Patachou Foundation. It's one of the many organizations here today that are doing things in an innovative way. But I only know about my organization, which is one reason I'm so happy to be here today, because I'm learning about so many others. Our organization has two radically different and radically, in my opinion, better approaches to hunger relief. The first one is called Pot of School, and the second one is called our Food Fellowship Program. I'm going to speak very briefly about both of these ideas. Both are designed to interrupt the cycle of childhood food insecurity in Indianapolis while enhancing educational success, thereby addressing the two biggest factors contributing to poverty as established by the UN in 2016. School meals account for 50% of a child's daily calories. And in most of the needier area, school meals provide greater than 50% of a child's caloric needs. Doing research for today, I ran across a quote that was new to me, but it was staggering. I'm going to read it to you. Public schools are the largest restaurant chain in America. America's schools' cafeterias serve 7 billion meals a year. That's more than McDonald's, Starbucks, and Subway's combined. Here's the problem, though. Unfortunately, the food system that we use in our school pushes sugar-added, ultra-processed menus, serving cheap food, making schools not just the largest restaurant chain in America, but the largest fast food restaurant chain in America. Thank you for snapping, because I think if anything you walk away with today that sounds new and interesting, that should be it. Our need to reframe what public school feeding programs are doing and how they're doing it. So if I could talk a little bit about my programs. One of the issues that the Patachou Foundation found when we decided that we needed to create a solution as opposed to a Band-Aid, we realized that the vast majority of the public schools that we were going to be working with lacked operative kitchens. That's huge. And what happens as a result of their lack of operating kitchens is kids are fed processed foods, served in plastic, made elsewhere in a factory, trucked in, usually frozen and then preheated or reheated. It's literally reheat model of food. Not exactly fresh, not exactly nutritious, and absolutely not dignified. We have to accept the fact at some point that there is huge societal cost to cheap food and an even larger societal cost to feeding children cheap food. Patachou is changing that by transforming school kitchens so that they are fully operational. And in our participating schools with fully operational kitchens, 100% of the students receive scratch-made, nutritious meals. And the impact is real and measurable. I'm not just saying it. We partner with IU School of Medicine and Riley Hospital, who track our results. And what they find is revealing. The impact of feeding children high-quality, nutritious food, freshly made, is real and measurable. What they see: increased school attendance, improved academic achievement, reduced behavioral deferrals, and better overall health outcomes, both physically and emotionally. But Patachou is more than a food program. It's also a workforce development program. By restoring operable school kitchens, we are able to create full-time, thriving wage jobs that offer benefits and career pathways for community members. We are on track to expand this program. In fact, we are hoping by the end of 2026 to have 6 more Patachou schools lined up and ready to go. Beyond being effective and beyond being scalable, our program is also sustainable. Within 3 years, each school that we work with will be able to run these programs without us at their side. They don't need our help, they won't need our money, they won't need our talent, they will be fully independent. Our second flagship program is called the Food Fellowship, and it provides Indianapolis high school students with paid internships that also offer high school credit. The fellowship program offers industry training in all aspects of the food sector, not just how to work in a restaurant, urban farming, journalism, distribution, trucking, everything that is food adjacent. We also most critically offer, through this program, college application support. And 90-some% of our food fellows have never thought about going to college because they think it is out of their reach. However, our students are encouraged, and we give them help with real college counselors. They do college tours. They help the students figure out the finances, the living situation, the logistics behind getting a higher education. And to date, 100% of our food fellows who have applied to college have received not only admissions, but have received full financial help, and they are still in school. 50% of these are first-time high school graduates and their families. And students also receive college credit for the work that they've done as a food fellow in high school from programs such as Ivy Tech. So this is a win-win. We aren't just feeding students today, we're fueling their futures. And we aren't just serving meals, we're rebuilding an entire food system. And we don't just hire staff, we create careers and opportunities that go beyond the cafeteria of a kitchen. And we don't just help, we empower. And that kind of brings me to really what I wanted to talk about today. We are charged with talking about hunger relief in a way I believe that needs remarkable reframing. And I think the entire landscape of philanthropy needs reframing as well. If we really want to solve problems like childhood hunger and all the other issues that we're faced with, We have to have a different approach. What I have seen since my 10 years involved in this, my very tiny part, is that we keep rebooting the same system. And I don't know about anyone, I can only think about my computer. And when I start having to reboot it 10 times a day, it usually means I've got to go buy a new computer because the thing's broken. And that's how I look at this. We just don't need to reboot every morning, but do the same thing every day, helping people. Our intentions are good, the results are not. And if they were, we would be out of business. But that should be our goal, actually. I think a new operating system is completely needed, one with a goal not to just serve, but to solve. We should be building new operating systems with the understanding that the success is measured when our organizations and our jobs are no longer required. Real success comes when we eliminate all the programs, all the fundraisers, all the capital campaigns. We can say we are successful in a radically different and radically better way when we can measure our success by the impact on the end user and the opportunities created for them. And we must hold ourselves accountable, all of us, not just to our donors, not to our board of directors, not just to the community, but I think what we hold ourselves accountable to is the impact we make. And if we're not making impact, we cannot call ourselves a success in spite of how much money the capital campaign brings in. I am so grateful to be here today, and I've already learned so much. I'm so excited to hear about the Vision Project for Indiana Food. I think there's such an opportunity for collaboration, and I think from everyone I've talked to in this room, we all have some things in common, and that is the understanding that the needle has to move with urgency. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
The question says, Martha, many of those utilizing hunger relief resources primarily consume ultra-processed foods, which you mentioned, which causes chronic disease. How can we change this?
Well, as everything in food, I think as all problems that are societally based, these are nuanced and complex, and there is not a simple pill. And I'm going to say something that might make some people in here shudder, and I say it with a provision. This is not meant to be a political statement. It's not an anti-capitalist statement. I own restaurants. I am a capitalist. Money buys you a lot of freedom and luxury to do good things. Without it, you suffer. And the reason why I say all that is I'm saying something that does talk a little bit about our current system of pricing food. And what happens, we have this value idea in America that Americans deserve the most amount of food for the least amount of money. And when that happens, when that value paradigm is met, the most amount of food for the least amount of money, there are collateral costs that happen that are hidden by cheap food. Mm-hmm. What happens on the end that any farmer in this room would be able to tell you is that the further down the ladder you are in the production of food, the least you get paid. The people at the bottom making the food, whether it's in a restaurant environment or in a farm environment, on a ranch environment, the value of their work, the value of their toil is not considered to be worthy enough. And if it were worthy enough, we'd have to pay more for food. And at some point, we would also realize that we are paying a tremendous amount for cheap processed food, and that we are not considering in the cost of that food what that food does in other areas of our society, for instance, in terms of our healthcare bills. And it's too complex. I can't say I have the answer, but I will say that when I ran my company with restaurants, I said to customers, and I said to staff, and I said to our vendors, our farmers, our ranchers, all of our suppliers, I said, for us to make money and have a stable company and to do the things that are right to do for the people who work in the company, in other words, to pay them properly, to give them benefits, including healthcare benefits, something that is not done regularly in the restaurant world. For us to do that, we have to charge a certain amount. And for us to do that, customers have to be willing to take the leap of faith that what they are paying for, that they get something different on their plate than just a pile of food and a cheap price. They are helping with the prosperity of lots of people. And it was something that my customers truly understood and supported. And you know who else understood and supported it? Our staff. For any of you who I'm hoping have been in my cafes more than once, you will notice that we have very little turnover. We didn't need to have turnover. For people didn't need to go and get second and third jobs. They were paid thriving wages. They had opportunity for advancement. They had opportunity to receive education and benefits. And when you're in an environment where everything is based on the amount that something costs, and if you're not charging fairly, somebody along the way gets cheated out of it. And that's just my complex answer.
Great answer. I think I have time for one last question. And of course, I have a question that I will ask you later. But someone asked, how do schools get involved with the Patachou Foundation? How do they connect with you?
Well, you can find us on our website, just like everything else in 2025, or you can reach out to me directly. You can reach out to our executive director. Everything's on the website. I'm here today. We have a vetting process. We just vetted an additional 5 schools. Our ideal is a public school and a public school of need, and we go in and we work with the administrators, we work with the school, we work with the parents, and we work with the neighbors. We come up with the plan to rebuild schools. We train the workforce. We teach them recipes. We show them how they file so that they can get their federal lunch fund money or meal money. We make sure that they understand every step of operating a working cafeteria. And if anyone is interested, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I think my email is in the program.
Well, I hope you'll join me in, again, thanking Martha for her presence today. And certainly, I hope you enjoyed what she had to offer.
Thank you.